Hello everyone, welcome fellow painters. Hope you're all well and coping with the cyber world. Now, Joe kindly invited me to present a little tutorial on watercolour technique. I stress technique because it's not an art lesson. I can teach art, especially to my peers who know as much as I do. But watercolour is a technique driven art form, and if I can impart some of my knowledge, I will. Specifically, Joe asked for trees, and that's what I'll start with. And if it all goes wrong, it's her fault. I'll give her contact details at the end. Now, recently I took a little walk through the park and came back with some photos on my camera. 4 different trees to paint, 4 different movies, all joined together. You'll get a glimpse of each before I start to paint. Okay, let's see what happens. Okay, we're ready to paint. But before I start, here's my palette. These are artist quality paints. They don't have to be. Student quality is fine. You just have to use more of it. It's not as intense, but it is easier on the wallet. Okay, I'll use French ultramarine and cadmium lemon to create the green. Now, there's plenty of other blues and yellows to use for green, or you can use ready mix green, which I've got here. But today I'll use those 2 colours. David did a splendid demonstration the other week on mixing colours, so I can't do any better than that. I'll also use burnt sienna for the autumn tints, along with a tiny bit of red, cadmium red. Sepia down here for the darker regions, the branches in shadow, etc. My brush generally is this Chinese calligraphy brush. Size doesn't say, but it's probably about a 12. It's very cheap. It's great for this. Smaller number 8 synthetic, also cheap, and this is ancient number 4. All cheap brushes. More important is the paper. This is Sanders Waterford white in a knot grade, which is slightly rough. It's cotton paper, so it absorbs a lot of water. Okay, let's mix the green. French ultramarine. Your colours do get a bit contaminated when you do this. There. You might not be able to see that so clearly. So I'm going to start the tree with the leaves first. This is relatively pale green. Something else you start first. The watercolour by nature is transparent, so it's easier to start with the pale colours first. Anyway, you probably know all this, and you're all saying just get on with it. Okay, now I have as my original. This is a tree in Greenhead Park, just a standard tree, lost a few leaves, but it's still basically green with a hint of yellow here and there. So I'll put that there, but all being well, that image will appear up here for you to follow. Okay, let's see what happens. So fairly random strokes. I started with the dry paper. I haven't wet it first. I'm ignoring the sky. I can put that in later if I want. So this is the essential nature of a tree and leaf. It's fairly random. Leave some gaps. It's fairly full down here. The branches are drooping a bit at the bottom. Okay, first coat done. So and I mix up the same with a tad of sepia. So these are the darker regions inside. This will be wet in wet. It doesn't have to be, you could let it dry. And it's beginning to dry already. So any leaves and branches along the bottom will be in shadow, of course. So I'm going in with the branches immediately. This will seep in nicely to these damp leaves. Don't do all the branches on top. Most of them are hidden. You'll just see hints here and there. I don't overdo this. It's easy to get carried away. If something looks good, you remember it, but don't make a meal of it. So another branch disappearing into there. Nice looking tree. I'm tempted to leave that, and I'll do a patch of the autumn leaves there. like it already. I know it's a short lesson, but it looks okay. So I'm going to wash that out and just do a paler portion of trunk. So this is sepia and burnt sienna watery mix. Always keep a scrap of paper. The same sort of paper. So this trunk comes together down here. See, there's a white notice on this trunk. Just threw me for a second. I think that's done. I'll just plant it on the ground so it's not floating about. Slightly sloping ground. Okay, small brush, yellow, burnt sienna, touch of cadmium red. So just here and there. I can't go direct onto the dark green with this. There, you won't see it. So this is on the green, but it will just moderate the green slightly. So I'm not painting any individual leaves, of course. That would be a long job. Just a hint of that sort of thing here and there. Right, I'm going to overwork this if I'm not careful. So I'll just wind this up. Now the original trunk was almost black, so I've brought it into the sun a little bit. Shadow on the ground. There wouldn't be a shadow there because the sun is coming this way. Okay. I think I've done. I'm not sure how this is fairly green to me. On my monitor it looks very bluey green. Let's see how it turns out anyway. So with 15 minutes in, we've time to do some more. Okay, winter tree. Here's a picture I took in Greenhead Road. The lovely tree. Lost all its leaves already, poor thing. So let's have a go at this. Quite a challenge, I think. So I've got sepia mix, not even a mix, just sepia. So I'm not going to draw it first, just going straight in. The tree separates about here. Now there's a big branch goes away from us there, looks a bit odd. Take that down to the ground. So, highly random nature. You couldn't think this up. It's the nature at work. So I'll just put in a few of the large branches. Trying to get them to get more and more narrow. Trying and failing. Okay. Hard to follow the original. I might start winging it shortly. So the basic structure is all we want at this stage. I think I lost it there. Sorry if I'm going quiet, there's really not a lot to say. Switching brushes now. My secret weapon. This is a sword brush. It's okay, but it's got a mind of its own. This is probably a good thing. It creates random things just on its own. So it's capable of some incredibly fine lines. I don't really want to go along that route, we'll be here all day. So I'm not referring to that anymore. But it's hard to be random. I'm hoping the brush will create random for me. How's it doing? Okay. Good old brush. Where's it going? Oh, it's like a Ouija brush. I don't know whether to carry on or call it a do. Looks okay. Right. Now, always a tricky moment this. I'm going to create a halo of fine branches and twigs. I'm just hoping I don't ruin it. I think the secret here is don't overdo it. What about a few leaves? There would be a stage when it had a few leaves left, probably just clustered to one side. So, leaves on this side only. Just touching here and there with the edge of my brush. Very sparingly. Something's telling me to stop now. like that, because there will be a shell of branches on both sides of the tree. Here's a trick. Just to create a bit of sunlight on the trunk. Let's plant it to the ground. Yeah, I think that's okay. I think if I worked at it, I'd ruin it. Somebody know these would fare in the damp of what I've just painted on. It looks okay actually. So there would be scope for further work. I don't know if you can see that clearly. It's bleeding in beautifully. I'm encouraged to carry on for a couple more minutes. Let's take it to 15 minutes. Just to move around to be random. If you followed one branch, it would eventually turn into Jack's beanstalk. I'm not trembling, I'm deliberately shaking my hand. Honest. So, yeah, you could go on and on. I think it's looking alright. Brush is nearly run dry of paint, but it's still performing. So you can see that you can get finer and finer. Ad nauseum. I like it though. 14 minutes. I'd like the whole thing to be an hour, so when I join all these together, I can't be far off now. Whew. I forgot to breathe then. Alright, 15 minutes. One winter tree. Okay, here's a picture I took in Greenhead Park the other day. Some nice trees there, which we could have a go at. So I'll put that to one side. Just create a background. Okay. Mix up a green, ultramarine, cadmium lemon. It looks dark, silhouetted against the sky, the bright sky there. So I think I'll let this dry. It's very wet. Okay. Looks messy, but you won't hardly see that. So there's a couple of trees in the background. So I mixed a bit of Payne's grey into this mix, because these are trees to the rear. Bit of aerial perspective puts them in place. Okay. So a bit fresher green here. So a bit of dry brush technique here. So when I do the trunk and branch structure, it will tie all this together. Very much all the same colour, these trees. So that looks all a bit of a jumble. I'm going to do a grassy base to all this. Zooming off into the background there. Okay. Right. I'll let this dry. So, what have we got here? Still wet. Starting to rain again. Don't know if you can hear that. Okay. Find a brush. If I can find it in my bucket full of brushes. So we've got a mass of fine branches. I'm going to attempt to do them all. Okay, this is very repetitive for you, so I'll pause and carry on. We'll come back in later. I've decided to liven it up a bit with some brighter patches. A bit worried that it was looking a bit grey and blue. So this is a green mixed with more yellow. This is not like the original colour, which was very much in silhouette. I'm sure it would look more like this at a different time of the day. Okay. So just for the sake of the picture, I'll plant everything with some shadows. Always good to fix things to the ground. Okay. How does that look? So, bit of Greenhead Park there. I think I'm done. I think that's fine. Okay, let's move on. Okay, I'm going to do silver birch now. Now there's splendid silver birches around where I live. This is one on Forest Avenue. It's completely wacky. That's what I like about it. There's no leaves. Also a bit indistinct there, but it's enough. So the base colour of the trunk I'm going to choose a dirty mix of what was already there and Naples yellow. So Naples yellow is a fairly dense creamy colour. It's ideal for this. Okay, so wackiness, that's what we're going to do. Where does it go? This might zoom off the top of the page. It's a bit indistinct, but there you go. I must have had a hard time when it was young, this poor tree. It's all bent and twisted, bruised. Oh dear. It's got a very sore looking bottom, not nice. So it grows out of the pavement. Okay, so straight away I'll put some gaps in like this before it dries. And then moving quickly, put these characteristic bark markings. So taking the advantage of the moist nature of the paint, probably come back over all these. So I think it's going to take a while, this picture. A little bit too much black here and there. A bit like a zebra, so I'll just tone it down a little bit. Okay, that's all right for starters. Too much. Very watery. Now the silver birch branches are quite straight. Which is a blessing in a way. This is probably the biggest of the three trunks. Quite like that as it is. So I'm reshaping my brush point. It was a chisel. Now it's round. So I can be more flexible. That's another advantage of this brush. Doesn't mind being moulded into shape. Suitably wacky, so those are all the branches of a certain size. Now, I don't know if you can see, but all the tiny branches which have tiny leaves on are all drooping down, almost like a willow tree. So I'll try and do that. using my trusty wacky brush, ideal for wacky trees. Another case where you've got to put a lot of work in to build this up. So I enjoyed that. Thanks for your attention, and I'll see you around. I might see one or two of you at the Packhorse studio. I might be going out on plein air to Castle Hill before the weather breaks. So, thank you, and I'll see you later. Bye now.